Nathan King here. Today we're going to be interviewing an amazing person and business owner and investor. His name is Kyle Stanley. Kyle manages 50 Airbnb rentals in Fresno, California, Bass Lake, California, and in Scottsdale, Arizona. Today he's going to be sharing his wealth of knowledge and information with us. Enjoy. Do you guys have any property? I'm kind of going to go off script a little bit because I'm just really curious.
Yeah, please go off script. I feel like you have to be in the script.
Okay.
Yeah. I was a sports anchor for 3 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so
That's super cool.
doing off script stuff is what I do. So.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So Three Rivers. I have a client that has an Airbnb. She manages it herself, and she says she makes an absolute killing in Three Rivers.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have any Airbnbs out there?
We haven't gone over there. That was a place that I was interested in, but Bass was calling our name a little bit more.
Oh, I see.
So I just went where the clients were calling for. So
That's cool.
yeah. But no, I've heard good things about Three Rivers and Tulare too.
So, all the properties have to be cleaned after every tenant leaves, right?
Mhm.
And it's a really big thing, especially now after COVID.
Mhm.
So do you have just one cleaner on call that will clean all of your properties regardless of where it's located?
Yeah, I mean, we have a cleaning team of 13 different cleaners.
Okay.
Yeah, so having 50 properties in town, you can't get away with one cleaner.
Okay,
It's just not possible. Because I mean, for example, 2 weeks ago we had 20 turnovers on Sunday.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So you have all 13 cleaners out there,
Wow.
and half of them are doing 2 properties. you know?
Yeah.
Plus, with us having properties in Bass Lake as well, you have to manage 2 different locations.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
but
Okay, so
the cleaners are what I love about our cleaners is they're like a family. I mean, we have a group text going all day long, and they're sending goofy pictures at the properties. Like we had one cleaner who sent a video of a squirrel, and that had actually gotten into the property.
oh my gosh.
And so you get to hear her screaming in the background as the squirrel is running through the bed. And it was pretty funny. But our cleaners and our team that manages the cleaners, they're on the ball. So we have 20 properties that guests are leaving at 11 a.m. All 20 of those properties are ready by 4 p.m. for the next guest to show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. And do you guys outsource the cleaning, or do you have them in-house, like on salaries?
Not on salary. We encourage them to go out and continue to do it for other Airbnbs as well.
I see.
They bring in all their own stuff, and so they're independent contractors.
Okay.
But we treat them like family and like employees, and the fact that we want to give them bonuses, and we want them to stay as loyal to us during the hours of 11 to 4 as possible. And then we tell them go do whatever you want to do after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So do you guys manage anything outside of Airbnbs, or is that really your niche? Like, do you do long-term rentals?
No, just Airbnbs.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do some a lot of our smaller houses are not necessarily short-term rentals. They're for nurses.
Okay.
So we'll do 30-day rentals at some of those, but they still pay short-term rental prices. We'll get a nurse that goes into a studio that's on the back of another house, and they'll pay $2,000 to $2,500 for that little small 400 square foot studio.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's actually what I was going to ask you about. So what would we call that? Would that be like a medium-term rental?
Yeah, we call it midterm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so they're still paying, because that's actually a strategy. I have a PUD property that will not allow short-term rentals.
Right.
And it doesn't really cash flow with the long-term rental.
Right.
So we're exploring the option. I'm either going to flip it,
Mhm.
which I would hate to do because it's right next to Bass Lakes. It's just a beautiful property.
Right.
I did a few extra upgrades that I probably wouldn't have done if I was going to be flipping it. But yeah, I think doing the nurses now, if it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, would you suggest having a nurse in each room?
It's a lot of management. And I personally, I'll say this, if I were to go back and start from ground zero, I would try it. But because you could always take it off and sell it, right?
Yeah, right.
Or turn it into a long-term rental, or try your luck at 30-day rentals for the entire house. You can try a lot of different things.
Oh, I see.
if someone were to come to me with that idea, I would say there's just no way that we would be able to do that, because that's just a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
And 2 years ago, before COVID, you have a lot of people that are looking for something like that to save money.
Yeah.
Nurses that are coming in and saying, hey, I don't want to spend $80 a night, I want to spend $30 a night, and so they can just get a room. Now, who knows what that other nurse is getting exposed to, and that could put them in jeopardy with their contract. And so there's a lot of nurses that have reached out, and that's been one of their questions, is like, hey, this isn't a shared space, right? This is my own studio.
Because of COVID.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it. But how successful is like a midterm rental if it was just like a 30-day, like you rent the house for 30 days plus at a time?
For a 3-bedroom, 2-bath?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's possible.
Yeah.
It just, I guess, what, can we break down the deal a little bit?
Yeah.
What's the mortgage?
So the mortgage would be about $2,100 a month.
Yeah, you'd be fine. I would do 30-day rentals, and I would do minimum $120 a night.
Okay.
And I think you could get 30-day rentals. You're going to have some vacancies,
Sure.
Because especially if you have someone come in, they book for 30 days, and then 14 days later, someone books for 30 days.
Right.
You're going to have a 2-week gap.
Sure.
Depending on how active is it HOA?
It's only $400 a year.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So it's
Yeah. It's very small. Yeah.
I mean, you could try your luck, and at the end of the day, it's your house. They can't kick you out of your house.
Yeah.
You can pay a fine and then not do it again, but yeah, I might try it too.
Yeah. We're asking permission
Yeah.
because I'm pretty sure they said, it's 30 days plus,
Mm.
but we might say 90 days because, people aren't going to take out
Yeah.
their calculator like, well, that Corolla was here and now we have a
Right.
truck,
Right.
tracking the days of the new people coming in and out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you think like it's north of Herndon,
Mhm.
right, over by Van Ness Lakes. It's kind of like a PUD, but it's all fully remodeled, like looks
Yeah.
beautiful.
If it's,
so.
if it's the only thing is, so you're gonna have a very small clientele that will pay the $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 per month for that, and you're not gonna have any issue with them. But you're also going to want to mitigate all of the vacancies, right? So
Right.
you're gonna need to be willing to bring it down to 120 per night, which comes out to $3,600 a month during the slow season. But during really from April until middle of September, that thing should do $5,000. People renting it out 30 days at a time, no problem.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. What would you guesstimate like the vacancy rate would be for something like that, a 30-day plus?
Yeah, for a bigger house like that, like my 30-day rentals for my small houses are, my 1-bedrooms are really like, I might have 3 or 4% vacancy the entire year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And that's for
That's
medium
for
term?
small, no, yeah, that's for midterm, that's for
Yeah.
small houses, because we have a lot of nurses that are coming through Fresno. But
Okay.
for a bigger house like that, I think you're looking probably more at like a 70 to 75% occupancy rate would be my
Okay.
guess. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Might even want to do like conservative. So if it was like 30, what would you average the monthly rate to be? Because if it's a 120 on the slow season, but it would be 150 in a busy season.
It would be a lot more than 150 on a busy season
Oh.
for a house like that. I mean, you're probably on average, call it, without seeing pictures and not
Yeah,
knowing
sure.
all about it.
It's like 1,700 square feet,
yeah.
single level.
If you were doing 30-day minimums, I would probably tell you that you're at like 180 to 200 a night.
Right.
But because you're at midterm,
Buying
maybe
bulk,
150.
Yeah,
Yeah.
150. So maybe average it at like maybe 130, 135 would be safe.
I think the average would be 150.
Oh, the average
Yeah.
would be 150.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
okay. So let's see, 150 times 365, right?
Take away 25%.
Yeah, times 0.75. So basically like 41,000. 40, and I'll
Yeah.
divide that by 12. So that's basically $3,400. And then,
Yeah.
but now with these midterm, you're still paying for water, sewer, trash.
Mm.
You're still paying for PG&E.
Yeah, you're paying for everything.
Okay.
Yeah. So it becomes
internet.
it becomes a little tighter on those.
Right. Because then I would still be in it for about 2,100. What would you add about 700 to that?
For expenses?
Yeah,
Yeah, probably.
700 with a gardener and stuff.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, that's just why midterm is not nearly as attractive as short term, because you're just going to have more of the vacancies, and you're going to have people not willing to pay the high prices. But
Right.
you could get lucky too. Like we had a couple stays here this last year where someone paid $165 a night, stayed for 6 months straight.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and that was a 4-bedroom, 2-bath in Clovis, basic house, not compared to what you're talking about. So you could find the right person, and they might book for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and $200 a night. It's possible for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where would you advertise like a midterm rental?
Still on Airbnb, just
Oh.
30-day minimums.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to look at that. I just don't want to sell a house, this particular one. But I mean,
Yeah.
I was looking based on our conversation. I mean, looking at cash flowing on average anywhere between $600 to $700.
After your expenses, I would say that's pretty safe.
Yeah, and that's averaging out. Slow months and busy months.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So Kyle, I want to ask you. So you're known as the fearless investor, right?
Yeah. Sure.
And it used to be fearless flipper.
Right.
So how did that name change come about?
So when I started my brand was Fearless Flipping, because I wasn't even doing Airbnb yet, and that was May 2019, and that was when I really started getting into Airbnb. And it was funny because I know you're just getting started with having a YouTube channel and everything, and I just asked a lot of people that were audience members of mine, like, hey, what do you want to learn? And everyone kept on commenting or getting on calls with me and saying, you keep talking about Airbnb, I want to learn more about Airbnb.
Wow.
And I was like, what? Why do you want to learn about that? I thought that was crazy. And so because people started asking that, I was just like, well, I'm not really talking about flipping anymore. I'm not really talking about that.
Wow.
And at that point, I went from having 5 Airbnbs to about 8 months later, we had 25 Airbnbs, and it just grew kind of what felt like overnight. And so I was like, well, I'm not really focusing on flipping anymore, so I should probably make that change.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. And so when you say you went from 5 to 25, you're talking about like ownership or management's aspect?
Yeah. So you want to hear just the full story?
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
So I was doing Airbnb as a room out of my house from 2015 to 2018. And that's all I ever saw of Airbnb.
Just like one of your your third bedroom.
Yeah.
You're just renting.
Make $800 to $1,000 a month and be stoked with the fact that it was almost covering the mortgage.
Wow.
And then I went to a fortune builder seminar and started learning about flipping, and got in, dropped the money to get the education. And the second home that I picked up, I was going to burr it and buy, rehab, refinance, rent, repeat.
Yeah.
And not necessarily invite over. But the idea was I was gonna burr it, and then I was gonna keep it as a long-term rental. And I looked at the numbers, and I was gonna make $600 a month. And I was like, well, I wonder, I've been doing Airbnb as a room out of my house. I wonder what would I make if I did it as a short-term rental instead of a long-term rental. I did the numbers, and I was like, I must be doing these numbers wrong, because this says I'm gonna make $2,000 a month after expenses.
Right.
And my mentor said, yeah, that can't be right. And he was just, he didn't have any Airbnbs, but I was like, I think I'm gonna give this a shot. A few people called me crazy, because who wants to rent a short-term rental in Fresno, right?
Right.
And so I tried it. Month 1, I made $1,800.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, this works.
Yeah.
I just basically 3x my money. And so I got down the rabbit hole of how can I do this even better, and learn about arbitrage, how you can rent and then sublease on Airbnb with the permission of the landlord. And I got into that. And so in what felt like, about 5 or 6 months was finally I went from wantrepreneur for the first 9 years after being out of college to actually oh my gosh, something is working here.
Yeah.
Plus I was still flipping some houses on the side.
Yeah.
And suddenly the first time in my life I made over $100,000 in a year. And that was 2019. And then of course I I'm screaming this on my podcast. I was telling everyone about it here in Fresno, and someone came to me like you and said, what would happen if you were to manage my house on Airbnb? And I was like, well, I don't know about that, but turns out if you look it up on YouTube, there's something about that too.
Right.
So I looked that up, and it's called co-hosting, and I was like, all right, I could essentially charge 20% and not have to furnish the house, not have to take any liability of the home, and just make this completely passive for owners, and it's a win-win.
Yeah.
They make their $700 to $1,000. I make my $700 to $1,000, and we're all happy.
Right.
And I get my first one February 2020.
Yeah.
And you know what happened in March of 2020?
Oh my God. Yeah.
So we went into panic mode, and the guy who bought the house was like, "What are we gonna do?" And anyway, I just went into problem-solving mode, and it was the craziest thing because March everyone was canceling their reservations. And we took everything off Airbnb except for 2 houses. And those 2 houses that we kept on Airbnb, April and May, were still at 90% occupancy.
Really?
People coming in, booking for 2 or 3 days.
And like, so Airbnb, the company didn't actually like shut it down?
No, I shut it down because I was like, everyone that was in Europe that was friends of mine that were Airbnb hosts were like, put long-term rentals in it now, or renters in it now, because before you know it, they're going to shut down travel and everyone's going to be refined to their homes and no one's going to be allowed to leave their front doors. Like that's what I was hearing from people that were 2 weeks
literally
ahead of us.
tanks down the street.
Yeah,
You're not going to be able to go outside. Yeah.
So I was like, shoot, we got to put nurses and, you know, a bunch of longer term renters. And so that's when I say shutting down Airbnb. We shut down, we had 7 units at the time. We shut down 5 of them, kept 2 of them on, but the 2 that we kept on, 90% occupancy. So when that happened, I told everyone, and you know, all these people like my mentor and a few other real estate investors and realtors who were getting ready to pull the trigger on getting some Airbnbs, and when they heard, wow, it's still working, they pulled the trigger. So from July to November of 2020, we went from 6 units to 25 units.
Wow.
And 16 of those, however many, 18 or 19 were co-hosting, doing it for other people.
Right.
And
Wow.
so, and now today we're at 50 between Fresno and Bass, and then I have another 10 in Phoenix.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so how do you manage it in Phoenix? Do you just have a team out there?
I have a team out there, business partner is one of my best friends. He saw my success over here and he said, I want to do it over there. So we started in January of 2021, and now we're at 10 units after doing it for a year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Good work.
Yeah, so it's been fun.
So with your purchases,
Mhm.
my understanding is that when you purchase a residential property, you can only have 10 outstanding mortgages
Right.
before the bank denies you anymore. Is that true? Is that still true?
Well, I don't own over 10, so I
Okay.
don't have experience with that. I own 6, and then I manage somewhere around 45, and then we arbitrage about 9 or 10. But I will tell you this, if you own them in a business and you get no docs loans, that could be a way around
Oh,
it
I
as
see.
well.
Right. It's
And then we also, like my fiance and I just bought a house with a couple friends, and they were able to use their loan in their name to be able to get a second home loan.
okay.
And we just are on title with them as basically partners in the deal. So there's
Got
there's
it.
creative ways to get around that.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
They're on the loan, but you all are on
Yeah.
title.
Yeah,
Makes
exactly.
sense. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. What are some of the best areas in Fresno County
Mhm.
for Airbnbs?
So depends on how you define best.
Well,
Highest ROI or
ROI,
Okay. I would say if you can focus on central Fresno, near the 41, and being able to really get a good deal. And I'm not talking about going and buying the $500,000 house in Copper and you know and doing it that way, because there's a ceiling in Fresno. You can add a hot tub, you can add all these amenities, you can get the 6-7 bedroom house, but really at the end of the day, the avatar guest that's coming to Fresno is going to be a family of 5 or 6
Mhm.
that are coming to see grandma and grandpa, or they're move-in houses and so they need some transitional living, or they're going to be an employee or two that are, you know, or solar workers or things like that. They're coming because they have to, not because they want to.
Right.
So I can go and get a 6 or 7 bedroom house in in Scottsdale
Yeah.
and freaking annihilate it and just make crazy good money. But if I get a 6 or 7 bedroom house in Fresno, I'm kind of rolling the dice.
I see.
Because you're trying to get a clientele that doesn't come here very often.
It's like, yeah, or if like you get one with a beautiful view, it's a $2 million property. It's like people are renting it out just to throw a party at your house.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is I try to stay away from the really, really nice neighborhoods for that reason. Because, they've worked hard their entire lives to be able to have a really nice house, and then they hear an Airbnb, it gets moved into right next door.
Yeah.
So, it happens. So, but long story short, if you can get a house, right around, like, call it the 41 Central to North Fresno,
Right.
then you should be able to do pretty well.
Got it. And like, does single story, 2-story make a difference?
Like your house that we're managing is, Buck Hill is awesome.
Yeah.
I love that house, man. That's 2-story and no bedrooms downstairs. So like my gut would be to say, like, you want some bedrooms downstairs in case they're bringing grandma and grandpa, but like your house is doing really well. So
really well.
Yeah. So
that's cool.
I think.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. So I think there's I get a lot of the questions like that. I think you just gotta try it at some point and just see how it goes and then make adjustments from there. But does it make a difference? Yeah, for some renters, but I think there's enough renters out there where it doesn't make a difference.
Right. The hot tub. So like I was talking to Gracie yesterday, and I was like, should I go on Facebook Marketplace and just go pick up a used spa?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say buy it at half price for $5,000. It's 2 years old. That's going to increase my nightly rate about how much?
Yeah, I would say get a half price one for like $2,000 or $2,500 bucks. Yeah.
Okay.
I think you can get a really nice new one for $5,000. But
I see.
I would say and here's the thing, Fresno is not vacationers, right?
Sure.
They're the short-term renters. Bass is vacationers. Like we're going up there and we're looking for those amenities. We're looking for the hot tub. We're looking for the lake view. We're looking for the game room or the bar area.
Mm-hmm.
Fresno, it's like, okay, that's cool. That's a great add-on. Is that going to appeal to the people that are coming here? And the answer to that is that's a small percentage. So yes to a hot tub, probably no to like just jacking up the rates. More of a, hey, let's still try to stay competitive, and maybe even let's charge each of the guests that comes walking through, as we're gonna lock up that hot tub and maybe charge them for every time they use it, and they have to ask for the code to be able to get in, sort of deal. So that might be, and that's coming from someone who, even though we have 45 units in Fresno, I still have not done a hot tub in Fresno yet.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll have a better answer for that. We actually have our first one that we're taking on, and if you're Grace was telling me you're thinking about adding one to Buck Hill.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know if you think it's a bad investment.
No, I think if you're getting it for $2,500, $3,000, it's going to pay for itself year one, no doubt about it.
Okay.
And ideally, in the first 6 months, it'll pay for itself.
I talked to a different Airbnb manager a couple of years ago, and they had mentioned that the vacancy rate goes down. When there's a hot tub. Like it's one of the top keywords that it's searched for. Mm-hmm. Pool and spa. Is that true?
Yeah. Where was that Airbnb host at?
They're in Fresno.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I mean, the way I look at it, she and I just went and went to San Luis Obispo, and the first thing that we're marking off is it doesn't have a hot tub.
Okay.
But again, I'm going to San Luis Obispo because I want to have a nice getaway for a weekend as a vacation.
Right.
So but especially like slow seasons, we notice that especially in Bass Lake and in Arizona during a slow season, the hot tub makes a really big difference.
I see.
Yeah.
So that way the vacancy doesn't really change too much from month to month because it's kind of offsetting that.
Yeah.
Makes sense. But I mean, as far as like a pool, spending $60,000 on a pool probably doesn't make sense.
No, not here. In Scottsdale, you have to have a pool.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Like, there's no doubt about it. Don't get a house in Arizona if you don't have a pool.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Because it gets to 116 in summer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we do have one house that we manage over there that made like $18,000 in March, And then in August, it made like $3,000, you know, because it doesn't have a pool.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. So what are the best upgrades? What are the best upgrades that someone can put into their Airbnb? Like let's say it's someone they're looking to upsize their house, right? And buy a bigger house. Wife's pregnant, right? They need a fourth bedroom. They want to Airbnb their house, but they've done some upgrades to the house, but it's still a little bit dated, right? They did fresh paint, they have fresh floors,
Right.
But other than that, it's pretty basic. Is there any upgrades that you would recommend they do beyond just the staging for the house?
Just like if you were to flip a house, bathrooms and kitchen,
Okay.
you know,
Countertops.
yeah, countertops for sure. Like those are the things, especially the kitchen on top of the bathroom. But you know, it's the common areas. Like a bedroom, it's nice to furnish it really well.
Yeah.
But in terms of upgrades and everything on a bedroom is not going to make much of a difference. I would say if you can spend a lot of money in the kitchen, spend some money in the bathrooms, and then a really nice backyard too makes a difference.
Okay.
Some curb appeal doesn't hurt either.
Right. Have you ever put epoxy paint on like the bathroom shower tile?
We have, you mean just kind of like to touch it up a little bit?
Yeah, I guess it's got like pink grout. It's like blue tile with pink grout. You know, it looks funny, but it costs a lot of money to tear it out. So you can put this epoxy paint on it.
Yeah, you can do that. Most of the time I've found that still ends up chipping off, so you gotta redo it. If you have the money, I would say just redo the bathroom.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I found we actually did that when in our house when we moved in. We spent all the money on the other upgrades, so we didn't have enough money for the tile and the countertops. But so we had put the epoxy floor to ceiling because it was all pink tile. It's crazy. And all the epoxy paint on the tile was all good except for the floor because there was a lot of surface. And then we had put the epoxy paint on the countertops as well. And on like the backsplash, and again, everything was fine except for the surface. Whatever took a lot of wear and tear, you know, knives, you know, bowls, your feet, that started to chip off, but the walls were always fine.
Got it.
So I've looked at like tubs and just like tip, you know, for what it's worth. You have like a tub shower combo, and then you've got the porcelain tub, but then you've got the tile wall. It's actually pretty cheap to just epoxy paint the tile on the wall because it doesn't take any wear and tear. Nobody ever touches it.
Right.
So it could actually last anywhere from 5 to 10 years before you have to make that investment. And you can even just touch it up with new epoxy and keep it going for.
If you're looking to save some money, that's not a bad idea at all.
Yeah. I had to do that for this house that I would talk about doing the midterm rentals.
Oh, okay.
Because I spent the money on taking out a step right in the entryway.
Oh,
There's 2 steps. But it's like in order to go to the master bedroom, you have to step up and then step down. And then you want to go back out, or you want to go down to the rooms down the hall, step up and step down.
Yeah.
Like, this thing is such a nuisance.
I'd get rid of that too.
Yeah. So it was $6,500
Oh.
to take it out, and then completely take it out, put new rebar in there, re-pour the concrete, smooth it out. It was a lot, but totally worth it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially just from a safety perspective too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Do you think that the market will ever be oversaturated with Airbnbs?
I get that question a lot. I think saturation is only noticeable to people that aren't trying to be unique.
Okay. Aren't doing it right.
Yeah. So there's an algorithm with Airbnb. You have to know the algorithm. You have to be able to manipulate the algorithm. If I open up Airbnb and look in Fresno, the first 20, we should see at least 8 of my listings in the first 20.
Sure.
Because we know how to keep our properties towards the top of our searches. The other side of it is really, really nice pictures are going to. I was actually just talking to someone today, and he has an incredible casita in his backyard, but it's cell phone pictures and they're done at night. And after I'm looking at this listing for another, basically 3 to 5 minutes, I'm starting to fall in love with it. But people don't have the time and attention to take 3 to 5 minutes on every listing. It's going to be 2 seconds. What does the front picture look like? And how many bedrooms does it have? Okay, moving on. Picture, bedrooms, moving on. And so if you can find the right combination of bedroom and bath count, plus have a really good first picture that leads into a really impressive marketing of your listing with unique amenities and amazing reviews, that will trump just about any type of saturation.
Absolutely. I actually, same thing with selling properties. I get the question a lot, like, I showed a house 2 days ago and the side yard was right next to Marks Avenue. And
Okay.
they said, well, if the market ever shifts, is this gonna be a problem selling this house? And I was like, well, yes and no. I said, yeah, some buyers will not buy your house because of the street noise,
Mhm.
right? But you can still sell it if you do everything else right.
Yeah.
Right? You gotta actually prepare the house for sale.
Yeah.
Right? Just like you're trying to sell a car, you gotta detail the car if you wanna sell it for top dollar.
Right.
Right? And so many people, they list their house, or that their agent lists their house and takes a few cell phone pictures,
Yeah, it's not.
shadows, the lights aren't even turned on.
Well,
They're seeing this much of the room.
the cabin we just bought, the golden part of it wasn't even in the pictures. And we got into contract with the cabin before we even opened up the golden part of it, which was this, what looked like from the outside, a small little 1-car garage. We open up the garage and it's 25 feet high, 20 feet long. We're like, there's our game room. We're converting this thing.
Oh, for sure.
And so now we have a cabin that was going to be, a 2-2 forced into a 3-2 that we were like trying to force the numbers. And then as soon as we open that up, we're like, oh, this is our 4th room, game room, bar area.
Wow.
This is going to be legit,
Wow.
And so if you don't have the right marketing or the right pictures,
Oh my
or
gosh.
just someone that is running the thing behind
Yeah.
closed doors that doesn't know what they're doing, then
Right.
yeah.
It's like for sale by owners, right? Sometimes someone wants to sell their house themselves, or maybe
Oh,
rent
yeah.
their house
They
themselves.
want to save money.
Save
yeah.
money. But if you hire a good agent,
Yeah.
or a good property manager,
Yeah.
right? They will actually pay for their own fee
Yep.
and then some.
Yep.
So they actually end up netting more money hiring a great professional.
And that's the thing. So we have a 25% management fee on our properties, which I know you know about. But
Yeah.
here's the thing: is take for example a property that grosses $5,000.
Mhm.
I'm going to take $1,250 off the top of that, right? So I don't even have my phone with me, but what is that? That's if they're go 5,000 divided by 30 days. That's probably about 160.
Yeah, 166.
Okay, so if I'm taking 25% off of that, so let's go now 3,750 divided by the same 30 days.
3750 divided by 30. That's
Yeah.
125.
So that's the way that you probably look at it, which is, oh man, you're taking $40 off the top. Well, here's the thing: if you are getting that same 166 that I just mentioned, so go 166,
Mm-hmm.
and now multiply it by 20 days. How much is
Right.
that?
It's only 3,300.
So, and that's probably what you're going to do.
Right.
You're probably going to get about a 65 to 70% occupancy rate at the same rate that I get for the nightly rate, but I'm going to get that thing almost completely booked most of the time with those gap days.
Right.
I know how to be able to,
Right.
okay, there's one day that's not booked here, let's get that
Yeah.
filled. Or hey, you're trying to get $300 per night on this. No one else is booking right now. We're dropping our prices down to 200. 200 per night is a lot better than $0 per night.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
And then the homeowner doesn't have to deal with all that BS, all that headache, all that back and forth. I mean,
someone trying to check in at 11 p.m. and can't
Yeah.
figure out the code, and
Right.
you're getting the phone call.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah.
So if a market does get saturated, the key is to have great properties, and then when limited buyers or renters are looking, they're gonna rent yours, not the competition.
I mean, it's just like flipping houses, right? Like, so or even being a really good agent, right? Some of our best friends who are fixing up a house for Gracie and I to move into right now, like when they started flipping houses was the best time to be flipping houses. It was 2016,
Mhm.
and not as many people were flipping houses then. And they didn't really hit their stride until 2020, where everyone in town is trying to flip houses right now.
Mhm.
So what's the difference between 2016 and 2020? Their education, their connections, their ability to be able to execute a plan. They got all the practice and they've done it. So that's exactly the difference there is if you're trying to get into Airbnb on your own right now or when a market is saturated, you're probably going to struggle. But
Right.
if you get in at a right time or at least educate yourself the right way, you should be able to tackle the saturation and combat that with education and knowledge.
Yeah, awesome. Going back to the medium-term rental, does your 25% management fee change if it's like a medium-term rental?
No, it doesn't, because if we are filling that house with someone, it doesn't matter how we found that person. We're earning. Your goal as an owner is not to work me till I'm not able to work anymore. Your goal is to bring me on so that I can make you the ROI that you're looking for.
Right.
So whether I get you, it's kind of like selling a house, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can get a listing from someone and you're like, I have a buyer for this exact house. And you take it right to the buyer and you never even had to put it on the MLS.
Right.
You still get paid your 3%, right?
Right.
Or
6% technically.
or 6%. Yeah, you're 6%. Or you can take that same house, not have a buyer, list it, go and put flyers on people's doors, knock on doors, talk to other agents, and then finally you're able to get this thing sold and you worked your butt off for 2 to 3%.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing for us.
Yeah.
We're looking to get you results. How we get there doesn't really matter.
Sure. Nice.
Yeah.
So you had alluded to this earlier, but the Airbnb market, was it negatively affected in 2020 during COVID or even last year?
I think in some areas it was. In Fresno, it just, because of the reason that people are traveling here, it really wasn't impacted that much. A little bit on the rates, but the occupancy stayed really strong. So the vacation rentals, the beach getaways, the places where people are strictly going for vacation, that got hit for sure.
I see.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Do you guys believe in long-term rentals as well, or?
Yeah, I believe anything that cash flows,
right?
Yeah. That and that's the thing, like going off of out of rentals and real estate right now, like anything that you can do to create cash flow is the goal in life. Well, that's not the goal in life. It's the vehicle that will get you to the goal in life, which is buying your time back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, I didn't hear the word passive income until I was 26 years old, and I think that is a total crime.
I know.
But then again, why should I expect a teacher in high school who has never probably experienced what passive cash flow is to teach me about that?
Right.
So I think anything from long-term real estate to if you're big on Bitcoin, if you want to do the Amazon stores, Walmart stores, like anything that can create passive income for you is worth doing.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
As long as it's legal.
Yeah, right. Yep. So if you were to buy an apartment complex, where would you buy an apartment complex at? Like city and state?
To do Airbnb?
To do Airbnb or just to have, a large apartment complex?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Like we're talking 100,
Yeah.
200, 300 unit apartment complex.
Large apartment complex, I don't know if I have enough knowledge to give you an answer on that from a non-Airbnb standpoint.
Okay.
From an Airbnb standpoint, whether it's a boutique hotel with 10 or 11 rooms to 200 to 300 units, I like Orlando, but that place is starting to get really difficult because everyone is going there. After looking at the prices in Cancun, we might want to do that. We were looking at them last night. I was like, what?
Oh, wow.
Jump in there and set a new pace.
Well, but it's Mexico. Do you think that would be a problem? Airbnb's in Mexico? The corporations?
They're all over the place.
Wow.
Yeah, they're all over the place. Yeah. Man, I've never been asked that question before. Here's my answer. Where you can make your best team. If we're talking about Airbnb, it's where you can have your best team. It's not about the ROI on that. It's Tim Ferriss talks about absolute income versus relative income. I could call it $100,000 per month of net income on an apartment complex, But if I'm working 100 hours per week, what is my time really worth?
Yeah, right.
Versus if I'm making $20,000 a month on an apartment complex and I'm only working 1 hour a week, then that's my relative income.
Yes.
That's my, okay, I'm making essentially, what is that, $5,000 an hour,
Sure. Sure.
So I'd much rather do that.
Awesome. All right. That's a good answer. So, okay, last question.
Mhm.
Last question. So, what's your how do I say this? I don't like the way this question is worded, so I want to rephrase it. But I guess, what do you hope to accomplish through your podcast channel and your YouTube channel?
Yeah, I really enjoy helping people. If I find something I really like and believe in, and especially if it's something that no one really knows about and wants to learn about, then I love screaming that to the world. So it's funny because when I first started in Airbnb, the original thought was, I'm gonna hold this close, this is gold, I don't want anyone touching my gold. And my good friend, you probably know him, Jason Pritchard.
Oh, yeah.
So Jason at these meetups, abundance mindset.
Yeah.
It feels like you shouldn't tell anyone, but scream it to the world. And I was at these meetups and I just felt like he was pointing right at me.
Yeah.
He didn't know I was doing Airbnb, but I felt like he was talking to me. And so it was funny, as soon as I started telling people about it on the podcast and sitting down and sharing it with people just without any sort of agenda, that's when it started coming back tenfold.
Wow.
And so then, you really get into it, you start seeing it change people's lives. Like, one of my students right now, she just got her third Airbnb. She's able to quit her job, and her soon-to-be husband, if they get 3 more, is going to be next. And it's stuff like that and the whole reason I started in Arizona is not to make an ROI. It's to help one of my best friends who I've known for a long time, could be a business owner and could get out of a dead-end job where they were just holding carrots in front of him and making him believe that he was eventually going to run the place.
Yeah.
While the whole time that was not what was going to happen. So
Yeah.
I do what I do now more so for impact than an ROI.
Yeah.
But I still have to charge for my time. Right?
Yeah. Of course.
So-
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, we appreciate you coming in today, guys. Kyle Stanley, if you guys have an Airbnb that you need managed, give him a call. We'll put his contact information in the link below. Hope you have a great day.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Hey everybody, hope you enjoyed the interview. If you enjoyed the content, please subscribe to our channel. For another interview, watch this video, and I'll see you on the other side.